Hello everybody. I am back with another pre-uploaded reading, and this is going to be pretty lengthy, and this is my part 3 and my last video when it comes to the American black slaves during the war from 1865 to 2023. This video is pre-recorded. Today is December 31st, 2023. Of course, the upload is going slow. My upload's been going slow, period. So you probably won't get this video into New Year's. So happy New Year's to everybody out there. And let's jump into the reading, okay? Excuse me. If you're new to my channel, thank you for stopping by and checking me out. I do zodiac sign readings on my TikTok. I just did some of those, so check that out if you're interested. I do celebrity readings on here. I also do historical readings like this, and we do historical readings like this for accuracy, okay? I'm 97.1. I just like to say that. I'm 97.1 accurate in my readings because I am not God. We do these readings for historical facts to see if the historical accuracy is correct from the history of the past. Me personally, myself, I believe that I am a child of God, and I'm gifted in these readings to tell you the truth and the accuracy of if these readings are true or false, okay? This is my part 3 of the American black slaves during slavery is over. So during Reconstruction era from 1865 to 1877, I did previously part 1 of the American black slaves during slavery from 1750 to 1865. I did part 1 and part 2. Check that out if you're interested. I also have a historical playlist, so check that out as well. It's a lot of historical facts. Thomas Jefferson and Sally Hemings, Joan of Arc, a couple of more people. I have to look on the playlist to see. Mansa Musa, and a lot more. I haven't done much, but I'll be doing a lot more. So this video is going to be pretty long because I not only have my personal questions, but I also have a couple of my subscribers' personal questions that's pretty good. So I was a little selective. I picked and choose the questions that were important to me and that my spirit guides chose for me to read. Which, to be honest, to my subscribers that send me the questions, it's pretty much all y'all questions. I maybe only skipped one question. That's about it. And if I did, it's because my ancestors told me it's not necessary, okay? I will be stopping because I got my whole cup of tea ready because I will be talking for an hour. I'm hoping not to. Okay? I also do personal readings. So if you're interested and you like my readings, email me at rosepetals10@gmail.com. It's in the description box in every video, and it's also in the beginning of my channel. As soon as you see my channel, you will see to book a personal reading, and you'll see my email right there, okay? Let's jump into the reading, you guys. Let's jump into the reading. Because it takes a lot of energy, you guys. So I'm already getting spiritual messages. I am preparing myself. I am taking my time. I'm catching my breath. I'm already feeling the energy. Okay. So as usual, before we start, I do my Archangel Michael prayers for my spiritual protection and my shield of the sword of shield. Okay. My shield sword. Okay. So Archangel Michael, please protect me as I read on the historical events. Please protect me for any negative energies or deities. Please shield me with your white light and your sword. Please guide me with your protection of white and purple light. And save me from anything negative or harmful to come my way. Guide me with messages of light and true messages indeed. Okay, of 100% accuracy as I do these historical readings. I thank you so much to my guardian angel and all the archangels and angels around me that is surrounding me and that is protecting me and my energy as I read, okay? Thank you and amen to the archangels, the shielder and the protector of the heavens, of all of us as well. And thank you, God, of course, for giving us Archangel Michael to shield us and protect us from all the dangers of physical attacks and spiritual attacks. Okay, amen, amen. Okay, people, you are welcome to join the prayer if you would like. I made some tea, y'all, and I'm gonna try to brag, but it's really good. Okay, so let's just jump into it. Okay, I did part 1 and it got pretty deep. Okay, it got really deep. And usually when I do readings, I don't remember what I read, but of course I remember what I read when I did these Black History readings of, of slavery. And of course I was reading that a lot of Black men they didn't want to learn wisdom. They didn't like their women. They were trying to seek something that shouldn't have been seek. They didn't want to learn how to adapt. They wanted other women besides their own. They weren't listening to the oracles. I definitely remember that. Okay, and we talking about in Africa before slavery really started and all that jazz. Okay, I'm also gonna be doing a lot of other historical readings on Alex Haley, on Malcolm X, of course Martin Luther King, Harriet Tubman, Henry Box, a couple of other historical people. Alex Haley, Queen. I'm actually doing her next. And then I'm going to read on Alex Haley. I may do a reading on Roots. I'm going to get deep in there. Okay, you guys? All right. Let's start with Reconstruction era. The slavery was over in 1865. Let's start off talking about that. Okay, and let's start off talking about the Civil War. We're going to start off talking about what happened with Lincoln and how this started with the Civil War and all that jazz. Okay, so I got a couple of tarot decks. I have my Light Seer tarot deck. This is the type of deck that gets more into the history, the spiritual of our history, because we are more modern now today, and so we don't farm like that no more. We don't harvest, we don't grow crops, we don't do industrial things anymore. We're more modern. Okay, and so these cards go back to industrial, and so that's why I'm doing that. Of course, we're talking about Black men, so I have my African Orisha tarot deck. Even though I'm not a big fan of this deck, because first off, not because some white dudes created it, but it just doesn't, I see beyond the cards, it doesn't give me all the way Black Orisha energy, okay? But it does have it in there somewhat, okay? And then I'm reading with my Kepler deck, okay? I'm also reading with a couple of other decks. The angels gave me a vision of the Angel Wisdom tarot deck and more, okay? So let's jump into it. Let's start off talking about Lincoln and the Civil War. 1865. We're just going to talk about 1865 right now. Spirit, please give me the energy around 1865. The reading is starting at 8 minutes and 30 seconds. You are welcome to fast forward it if you didn't want to hear all that jazz before, okay? But I would think it's important to hear it. Or you could just go to part 1 and part 2, okay? I even have a video 2 for part 2, because part 2 was so long that I had to do 2 videos. So it's also a part 2 video for part 2. So there's 2 videos to part 2, and then part 1 is just its own video. But it's all in my historical playlist, so please check it out, okay? And there goes my little snoring again. It only happens when I do readings, or when I get ready to start reading. Dear spirit guides, dear angels, give me the energy around Lincoln and when the Civil War happens. First thing I got is 9 of Pentacles in reverse. 2 of Swords in reverse, 4 of Swords in reverse. Okay. 3 more cards. This is 2 9s in reverse. That means it was a big, significant change that was no good. But I'm going to get deeper into it in a minute. Very big, very significant, very, a turning point. A turning point that was not good. Okay, so I'm going to get deep into it. 10 of Swords in reverse. Oh, yeah, people have to go. Not like that, but yeah, like that. Look, the Hangman. You know, if we talking about history, slavery, and all that, the hangman gonna show up here. Because hangman is sacrifice. That sacrifice, that's hanging, that's Jesus sacrificing. Woo, 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 woo. All right. Okay. Give me a second, y'all. I'm gonna get started. I'm following my visions. All right, angels. I'm gonna pull 3. I felt 3. I'm getting visions while I'm looking at the cards. Meeting energy around the Civil War and leaking, angels. 3 of Swords came. 3 of Swords popped out. The Fool popped out. Wow. All right. Let me move my candle to the side. Thank you, angels. All right, the first thing I get when I get both of these 9 of Pentacles in reverse is when it came to the Civil War and leaking, to be honest, I felt like, and okay, I'm going to just say it because I feel like it's in history. If you're a history buff and you kind of watch it, it's kind of coming out. But okay, first off, the reason why the Civil War went down is because the North was not getting any money. They were losing money. Money was falling. You know, the North is not industrial. What I mean by, well, they were industrial. I'll take that back. The North were about factories and farming and stuff. I mean, not farming, but about factories and building things, okay? And the South was about growing and prospering. So the first thing I see with the North is that they had a hard time with food. They had a hard time with getting food, okay? It was easy for them to get clothes, jewelry, shoes, like, I'm just naming modern things for an example, but material things. It was easy for them to get material things. Fur, cotton, and not food. Okay? And so imagine being in your house and you have your apartment, you have the lights or a lamp, you have warm clothes, you have heat. You may even have water, but you don't have no food. It's very hard for you to get food. The only way you could get food sometimes is to travel to the South or have family members travel to the South and get food there. They're the ones who had all the food. And not only that, the stuff that the factories that I'm seeing it all here, the factories that the people in the North, because Leakin was for the North, the factories that they had, most of the things that they were producing came from the South. Cotton, liquor, gin. Okay, the only thing the North, what I'm feeling in the energy is the only thing the North had really was a lot of like watery stuff like fish. Okay, for an example, they could get fish and seafood. But for something with meat and wheat and stuff like that. So this was hurting a lot of families as far as hunger wise. And so the dreamer, which is the Fool, is a new start, okay? And I feel like this angel right here, this is Leakin as a child. I feel like this angel right here that's standing above Leakin, I feel like, now, see how this door is right here? This is like to me, this is like heaven before Leakin was born. I feel like Leakin came here and made a deal with God to be this president and to make this turning point. This was his contract with God before he decided to be born. And so I see him making that contract, leaving out, coming in as a new baby and making a new start. Also, the energy around that time is something had to change because there was a great sadness. I'm also hearing Quaker energy as well. There was a great sadness The country needed to heal. It was time for a different way of seeing things, and it was time for a balance. But most of all, I'm seeing, yeah, a lot of people were in need. A lot of white people were in need and were hungry. The main thing that I'm seeing overall, though, is that it was no balance. It was no balance. Like, how could, we're all one country. How could one country have something and we don't? We need to, we're turning into, I'm not going to say like Europe, but sort of. We're turning into that, where the South has everything and we don't. That's not a balance. They even have more like citizens there than us. All the black people are taking the money and we have nothing left. We have no food and we don't have no money because we don't have jobs to go and make money. And we don't have jobs because y'all have control of all the black people. Having them stuck, having them hanging them, having them stuck, and having them miserable, wanting to get out of this pain and in pain. I'm barely seeing the Quakers yet, but this is around that energy and around that time. Give me some more cards when it comes to leaking around 1865 when it started. So it's very clear. Money. Look what comes right here. Money. It was about money. And even though this is wealthy man, I see this right here. So it wasn't, the one thing I will say about leaking is it wasn't just about him. This was trying to balance, I don't know if y'all can see like I can see, but as you can see, this is a little, I don't know what you call those things, but this thing is falling on the world. This is about making an equal balance in the world. And the North wanted to be wealthy like the South. I just heard that. The North wanted to be wealthy like the South. A lot of women in the North wanted to be, a lot of women in the North was kind of struggling too. They wanted to be wealthy too. Their husbands were struggling. It was a struggle for them. And so they wanted to change things when it comes to this energy too. And so now it's time for war. That's the only thing I'm seeing. I'm seeing war. This is actually the energy of Grant. He was the president too. I actually have him down, Grant era 1865 to 1877. So this is like war. It's time for war because, and you notice how official person, which this is a military person wanting to go to war. I notice how it's right under Dreamer, which is the Fool card, and the Terror, which is a new start. War. The energy is coming through like it's a concern though. Like Leakin's not sure. Now remember he made that contract with God, but once you get here, sometimes you forget things. You know what I'm saying? So this also shows the energy of Leakin being hesitant about, should I do this? Should I not? We're kind of doing bad here. I don't know. I'm at a loss for words. The women are working, but they're not getting profit for it. They're not getting paid for it. Also, the energy comes around like more jobs are needed in the North. More jobs are needed, and the South is too selfish to be equal with them. There were so many slaves in the South, there wasn't really no jobs left for the North. So it was a lot of homeless, poor white people there. And the ones that really wasn't homeless, it was hard for them to get food. They had to go, like they had food, but it was really, really hard to get. A lot, like I'm seeing the energy of having to travel through situations they didn't want to travel to get food. Like, most people from the North, they didn't feel like traveling, going through the South, going through them woods and snakes and alligators and all that jazz, and so they was annoyed with that. Give me the energy around Leakin and his energy towards slavery. I'm not gonna lie, just feeling Lincoln's energy as I'm reading, he's boring. He's boring. He's making me sleepy. His energy is very sluggish and boring. He has a boring guy energy. Give me the energy around the black people. Around the time, look, the tower. Around the time that the Civil War started, the energy is the same when it came to Lincoln and his energy towards black people. I'm going to be honest. See, he's still kind of human. So the reason for him doing this Civil War, he was hesitant about it. First off, is because he didn't want to piss off the white people in the South. And he wanted it to be equal. But he wanted them to equally share finances. You know what I mean? I don't want you to let go of your slave. You don't have to let go of your slaves. But something has to change. And so this energy is still kind of like the same. It really wasn't so much about him thinking about freeing the black people. It was more so like, we need to be balanced here. And so Lincoln's energy towards slavery is, and to be honest, black people towards slavery, I do still see the Orishas and all that watching, kind of just watching. But the energy that I see is Lincoln trying to hesitate and not really wanting to open roads and opportunities and stuff for the black man. The issue what I'm seeing honestly is we need to stop slavery so we can have jobs. Like, in my opinion, the black people should go back to where they're from. We have no roads, we have no opportunities, we have no doors. Cause I'm sorry, I'm gonna say it right. Elba, which is also Papa Legba, the one that's, Ishu, the crossroads. That's all, the road, open roads, that also talks about opportunities, opening the roads up for you to do things. Opportunities come, the road is open and the opportunity is there, so just go to it. But if it's closed and blocked, you can't get to the opportunities. So Lincoln feels like white Southern people, y'all need to stop slavery. Because these people, which is black people, they don't even belong here. This is our country. We have to be working and making profit for our own. We have no roads or no opportunities or no doors for them. Right? But I feel like here's God saying, no, we're going. So it's like, he made a contract with God, but when he got here, of course, he probably didn't remember or forgot or just turned his back on what it was. And this is him turning his back on what the contract he made with God was. But then here goes the tower saying, you know what? No. So this is God putting his foot down like, no. And this is also the Southern people putting their foot down like, no. We're not stopping our black people from working as slaves. We're not sending them back to Africa. They're going to work for us until they die. And so, boom, here come the South with a tower moment. Because the South is thinking, because I'm not going to lie, a lot of men in the South were dumb, the white men, I'm going to be honest. They're thinking like, okay, even if we let these black, do something that he says, it's going to cause a domino effect, and then it's going to mess with slavery either way. So we can agree, and he may let us keep our slaves, but he's going to come back. He's going to come back and want to do something else. And so they're so stubborn and dominant and love that free labor life. They're not even trying to hear nothing that Leek is trying to say. Leek is trying to tell them, let's work for ourselves. But to me, I'm looking at it like, okay, the white Southern people lazy. They don't want to work for themselves. And so we don't care about sending them back home. We don't care if the people in the North, we don't care if y'all don't have jobs in the North. Come to the South then. Because even now, the Ku Klux Klan, they feel like all black people belong in the North and they all belong in the South, even now. So that's what they're thinking. And so, bam, the Civil War pops off. Because I'm not really getting too much from Lincoln's energy. Lincoln energy is boring. He's boring. He's making me want to go to sleep. His energy is so boring. Even his wife energy is boring. They're like both a boring, good couple. That's what I'm seeing from the energy. All right, so boom, the Civil War starts, okay? Excuse me. This Queen of Wands is the South confident that they're going to outdo this. And then this Three of Swords is the North, upset and sad that it has to go there. But this Fool card, which was last, we have to do a new start. We have to push our fears to the side. We got to take a leap of faith. We got to fight them, because they don't care about us white northern people working and making money and trying to be like balanced out. They don't care. They're just worried about themselves. All right. Let's talk about it. The Reconstruction era, 1865 to 1877. Let's talk about what was going on around that time for black people in the South. And then we're going to talk about what happened in the North, then the West, and then we're going to talk about Grant a little bit. Okay, and let's talk about it. What was going on around 1865 through 1977 in the South around Reconstruction era spirit? Four of Pentacles. Well, okay. Oh, Lord Jesus. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty sad. It's already sad. Yeah, it's pretty sad. All right. Let me pull some Orisha decks. I'm kind of going to slow y'all because I don't want to wear myself out and drain myself out. Pacing myself. Look at that. Look at that. Reconstruction era, what was going on around for the black people in the South from 1865 to 1977. Spirit, thank you. Free. They free. That's for sure. Oh, Lord. Lord, Lord, Lord. Lord, Lord, Lord. Oh, Lord. Heck no. 2 cards. And then I'm going to pull some angel cards. I'm trying to get it all out so I can get to the story, y'all. And then we're going to talk about the North. Look, look, look. Reconstruction era spirit from 1865 to 1877 in the South. Okay. A lot of black people for sure had to do, once they were free, a lot of black people started going to court a little bit in the South. They tried, at least. They tried. Ooh, excuse me. Pull 3 cards from here and then 2 cards from my other deck, and then I'm going to read, y'all. Sorry, I'm not reading yet. I'm just trying not to overdo it with myself. Y'all wouldn't understand. And maybe some people do. All right, angels. Reconstruction area. What was y'all energy like watching over the people during that time from 1865 to 1877? The angels always have this energy where they're like innocent. Even when the white people be doing crazy shit to us, the angels always have sympathy for both sides and want both sides to get along and be peaceful. The angels have that kumbaya energy, like even towards evil people. That's the crazy part. Even towards evil people, they got that kumbaya. Kumbaya. We are the world. We are the children. I'm sorry, angels. I'm putting y'all on blast. We are the ones that make a better day. I'm just feeling their energy. They just always have that energy. Even towards these racist Ku Klux Klan people, I be like, angels, y'all definitely of gods. Y'all definitely not us sinning humans, like, for real. Because we be so mean. We be so angry. We be so judgmental. We be so devious. We be so envious. And what's the last word? Plotting. All right. The first card I got was the Four of Pentacles. So during Reconstruction era from 1865 to 1877, I see a lot of white people are upset about losing their property, losing their land, and trying to hold on to every piece of money they could get. Okay, so I see a lot of people holding out. I see a lot of people being selfish. Even though these white people were trying to hold on to every little piece of money they could get, and some of them wasn't even thinking about rebuilding their property, but they did. A lot of white people went in debt. And when I say white people, I mean their children, because a lot of these white plantation owners were older, and some of them were about to leave their wealth and their slaves and all that to their children. Once they didn't have no slaves, no income, no, because they wasn't trying to get out there and do it. So a lot of white people went broke, which means their children went broke, their sons went broke. Whoever, like, say for an example, a white slave owner lost his property and he was old and he was about to die, and he had a 25 or 26-year-old son who was married and about to inherit all that. The 26-year-old is broke because now the dad has nothing to get. So a lot of white people were sad, they were depressed. A lot of them moved away from their land. I'm not going to say they left the South, but for an example, if you were from Mississippi, Macomb, Mississippi, that's where a lot of my family from, and you were white and you lost your stuff during Reconstruction era, you may have left Macomb, Mississippi and went to Florida or Alabama or North Carolina. They left the states they were from and moved to other states. A lot of other white people were just homeless and lived by the rivers, lived by beaches, built tents, built huts, built homes. Also see a lot of white people building Salvation Armies and homeless shelters and soup kitchens for themselves with a little bit of money. So I'm gonna be honest. White people were there for each other when it came to the struggle. Something that black people don't even do now. They're not even here for each other when it comes to the struggle now. But that's because of that Willie Lynch letter. Okay, so a lot of people that's watching my video, one of my subscribers, I'm going to read her question real quick. I'm going to pull cards on it, but before I pull cards on it, I just kind of want to tell you the answer to that question already. One of my subscribers asked me, what is, wait a minute, hold on, I want to go to it. Why do black people always have a hard time working together as a community? To answer that, I'm going to pull cards on it around that time, but to answer that question real quick, it's because of the Willie Lynch letter. So if you're watching my video and you want to know why black people have a hard time, please Google Willie Lynch letter. What Willie Lynch letter? He was from, I don't want to get too deep into him, but he was he was from the West Indies, and when slavery first started in the 1750s, a little bit before that, he was, white plantation owners was having a hard time at first. He's the one that came up with the psychological effect to ruin black people if they stick in a method, and white people stuck to that method and it worked. He told them if they did this method, this will work for 300 years for a fact. He said it could work longer, but it will work for 300 years for a fact. What Willie Lynch didn't know is that he was wrong. He's not wrong that it would work. What he was wrong about is he only thought it would work 300 years. What he didn't know is that it would work 1,000 years. And so that's one reason, but we're going to put cards to look deeper into it. But also, when it came to the South in the Reconstruction era, I just see a lot of people stealing. I see a lot of people stealing. I see mobs. I see white mobs. I see black people having to get together and go against white mobs, and some of them are losing. But I actually see white mobs. I see that they're free too, but I see that they're hungry. They're hungry. They don't have any spiritual faith. I see a lot of them are praying and trying to connect and find their spiritual self, but they're hungry. They're hungry. They're homeless. They don't have nowhere to go. A lot of them are passing away. A lot of them are still getting their life taken. A lot of them are being betrayed. A lot of them they're still getting hung. They're still getting killed. They're still getting, allegedly, we gotta say this for the channel, but there's still a lot of darkness around. It was a lot of black people who were robbing and stealing, and that got them in trouble. There were a lot of disputes and arguments and fights between the people. But yes, I see freedom, but I see starvation. I see hunger. I see sadness. I see the angels trying to restore the land. So I will say around Reconstruction era, there was a lot of rain going on around that time. I see a lot of white people trying to go to court and get income. I see a lot of black people trying to get bold and have courage to go to court and get rights. I actually see it, believe it or not, it's hard to believe, but I actually see a lot of black families when Reconstruction happened and when slavery was over. I actually see a couple of black families looking for their mothers, looking for their fathers, looking for their children, looking for their wives, looking for their girlfriends and boyfriends. And I actually see some black people trying to work. Trying to get out there and work and find their families. I see some black people trying to go back to school, mostly the children. I see the women trying to work too. But I'm actually surprised to see that some black people, I'm not going to say who was it though. There was some black people going, for an example, if your family member was sold into slavery, your child, your girlfriend, your wife, your husband, I actually see some black people going back to try to find them legally, court-wise, or some way. They're just trying to find them. It wasn't no phones and TV and social media. Somebody break up with you, they could spy on you. It wasn't none of that then. Who was looking for who though? I'm nosy because I'm like, was the black man going out looking for their wives? Nah. Who was actually going out looking for their enslaved family members? Okay, so I see a lot of women, of course, looking for their children who were taken from them during slavery. I see them having a hard time though. A lot of them went to look. Some of them wasn't able to find them. Some of them wasn't able to have the coin to be able to find the right people to help you find. Sometimes you gotta pay to help you find them. And yes, I'm pulling cards, but I got cards up here. The camera ain't up there, so y'all can't see that. A lot of the families died. Like, a lot of people went to go look for their families during Reconstruction era, and they found, some of them did find their family members, and they found out they were passed away. A lot of women went to go look for their men. It wasn't really the men. I'm gonna say that because look, I'm gonna tell you all what I pulled. Bam, bam, bam. Some women went to go look for their children, but some women went to go look for their husbands or men who were sold away and found out. For an example, a couple could have been in Louisiana and they took her husband and he was sold in Mississippi. When Reconstruction era happened and slavery was over, she went to Mississippi to go try to find her husband and found out that he had got murdered, But I don't see men looking. I see women looking for their children, and I see women looking for their husbands. I do see a lot of men, black men, to be honest, getting ready to go to war. And I do see their wives, leaving, comforting them and helping them. So there was some black men who wanted to go fight in the Civil War to free their families and stuff like that and make a new choice. Yeah, I do see that. I see it. I do see it, but a lot of them were, and we know this already, but the cards are saying it. I do see some black men going off to fight in the Civil War. His woman or his wife, wishing him luck and congratulating him, right? And then I see him going off to war. wanting to make a new choice and thinking like this is going to help me and my family be free. We could finally form and do our own thing, right? And then a lot of them were killed in the war. Some of them went, some of them weren't, some of them were happy going off into the world. Some of them ran off and left their families, though, to go off and make a new choice, or ran off and were killed. Some of them ran off to go try to fight in the Civil War as soldiers and ended up getting caught and hung. So I guess right when the Civil War was happening, some of them ran off and got killed. Some of them just got killed anyway. You know, it's crazy. All right. I just have to check that part real quick. All right. That was the South, y'all. That was the South. I said this video was going to be a little long. I didn't want it to be, but I know it's going to be. And I'm praying I don't have to do a part 2 because I don't want to record this more than 2 hours. If I do, I'm going to stop and just do part 2 of video 2 of part 3 of the Reconstruction era. All right. Because I do got a couple of questions. And I don't want to rush the questions off. I want to answer them with detail. You know what I'm saying? All right. Let's talk about what was happening in the North for the Black people during Reconstruction era from 1865 to 1977. The sun is in reverse. The devil is in reverse. I'm not gonna lie, the Black people in the North energy is a little better. Even though the sun is in reverse, the devil's in reverse. This is the world in reverse. It was a lot of sadness for the Black people, especially the women in the North. Not as bad as the South, but struggling. The thing with the Black people in the North is it was hard for jobs. It was hard for a place to live. It was hard for food. But it was a better sense of safety. Okay, the devil's in reverse. So there was a lot of healing, a lot of not having to worry about being in like so much fear of the white man coming after you, or the KKK coming after you, or racist people. It wasn't as sincere. I'm not going to say it wasn't racism down there, but everybody was more concerned with how to live, how to eat. There really wasn't nothing you could say to eat. There was a lot of sadness and turmoil and hunger. A lot of women were sad and depressed and emotionally not there. Emotionally not there. A lot of women weren't having faith spiritually. A lot of women weren't having their faith spiritually, but way better than the South. Just things not moving as fast as they were like. Still being hungry. Kids still being hungry. Still sleeping outside. Still homeless. Still not knowing where to go in the world. But not having to worry about somebody sneaking and hanging you. Or somebody, trying to come and burn your house down. It wasn't, but there was no jobs, and it was cold, and it was icy, and it was crazy. What are Black people? What'd I say? Can y'all see that? What'd I say? Poverty. So the Black people in the North was having a lot of, they were doing bad homeless wise. There was no food. Everybody was sleeping outside. They were having like outside soup kitchen. It was just pretty bad. It kind of reminded me of that movie, but it wasn't. This was like the Jewish people in that one movie, The Pianist, when they were all in that ghetto part. I don't know if you guys ever seen that movie, The Pianist, when all the Jewish people were living inside the ghetto. That's what they called it. That's actually where they got the ghetto from, to be honest, the word, the ghetto. That's where they got it from. But I'm kind of getting that energy. Living around sewers, I just got a vision in New York. Living around sewer. Imagine being in New York around 1865 to 1977, but it wasn't no trains or nothing like that. But imagine all those rats. Imagine living by the because I used to live in New York. Imagine living by the water, around the lake, the sewer, the train. Like, that's what it was like for a lot of people up north. And I see them trying to go to like court or like the jurisdiction and stuff like that to try to see if they could have a house or housing or something affordable, and it was a little hard for them. But I will say they all got together as a community and tried to help each other in the North. So the black people in the North were more supportive with each other and trying to make something happen. So they would get together and help each other out in the North. All right, let me get 3 angel cards around the North around that time. The King of Swords. Okay. All right. Yeah, the North was a little bit way better than the South. The North, okay, so a lot of people went to the court in the North. A lot of people went to the jurisdiction. Say, for an example, if there was, like people do today. You know how like people are homeless today and they try to get a caseworker, or they try to go through the courts or a jurisdiction office to try to help them with food or housing to see if they have anything. So I felt like there was somebody who was being emotionally unavailable and not listening to their concerns or their demands when it came to them wanting help. And so a lot of black people in the North were always cold, always homeless, always expecting the worst, always in fear, always feeling sorry for themselves, always having sleepless nights. And they just was like, look, it needs to be a renewal. It needs to be something. So they tried to keep their faith and pray a lot, but it was like hard. But one thing I will say is they tried to stick together as a community. I am seeing that energy. Let me get 3 more cards when it comes to the black people in the North during that time of Reconstruction era. Look, 8 of Swords. Feeling trapped. I'm already going to tell you why. Because they didn't want to go back to the South. Okay, Spirit. A lot of people from the North, a lot of people from the South went to the North. And they were afraid because even in the South, even though they were going through all that BS in the South, they could grow something to eat. Or it was a lot of white people who can go to an old slave owner and tell them like, we're hungry, can we work today for you to get something? And they would do it like that. A lot of white slave owners also tricked a lot of black slave owners too. Tricked them into telling them like, if you work for me, because they didn't know how to read and write, I'll give you this and that, just sign this is how you get food. And a lot of black people worked for white people in the South just for food, even if they were homeless, okay? And so in the North, the families were together, they were happy, they were blissfully, but they were trapped to starvation, to hunger, to homelessness. And I just see a lot of people in the North trying to work, but it's hard for them. I do see a lot of black dudes in that time of Reconstruction era was still kind of lying to their wives and cheating and messing around. I actually see that energy with this 10 of Cups and this Ace of Swords in reverse. That's a whole nother story though. But that's what I do see for the North. Not as bad. And you notice I ain't got a Hangman card like I did this. You notice when I pulled the South, I got the hanging, like dang, jeez. So yes, the South was just more economically poor. Ignored. The black people were ignored by the white people in the jurisdiction courts when it came to them trying to request help and assistance, and they had to figure it out on their own. So they just stuck together and tried to do their little soup kitchens like they can, but they wasn't able to do it like the white people. And so it was a little harder in the North for you to survive because they were still racist down there, but you just got ignored because you were black. You didn't get killed or beat or hung or because you're black, okay? You just got ignored. Give me the energy from the West around the time of Reconstruction era. Give me the energy around the West. The West was trying to farm up still. So I see the West still not all the way completely developed yet. Still planting, still growing, you know. So the West still was just trying to grow. The West was making money though. And that's because people were moving to the West, but the West had the plenty. So a lot of people were out in the West trying to grow. So you had to have a little bit of money to be able to travel to the West to make money. Because it was hard to get to the West. It was hard to get to the West. But if you got to the West, you were able to make money. So, but in order for you to get to the West, you had to have some money already. So it was hard for a lot of black people to get from the North or the South to get to the West. But I'm getting the energy of nothing really being in the West yet. No people, no forms, no countries, no Ku Klux Klan, no communities. Nothing is really out in the West yet. So the West doesn't have the change yet. The West is barely starting. They're barely starting. But if you happen to be on the West already, which really wasn't a lot of people, you were kind of isolated because there wasn't a lot of people there. You kind of lived to yourself. Most people in the West were spiritual and connected with a higher power. And you had plenty, meaning you had food, you had a roof, you had gold, you had silver, and you had food in your pocket. But you have to have money to get to the West already. Yeah. Let me pull. Guide me, Spirit. Which one should I pull on the West? This one. And then I'm done with the West because the West don't have much energy. Of course it don't. 1877. I mean, they had just kind of conquered the West in 1850. So. And they only had conquered it. They didn't do nothing to it yet. And people were only going down there to get gold and coming back. That's it. Not living. See what I say? Now this is the seven. See, the 7 of Cups came in the upright. Now it's in the reverse. It was really hard to get to the West unless you have money. No, that's the eight of Cups in reverse. Really wasn't nothing there on the West yet. But it was really popular when it was talked about and everybody was trying to get there. And they knew and they heard that it was a land of opportunity. And so the West really wasn't there yet. Not for black people to be going at it about. I'm seeing more of white people trying to go at it and get to the West. But not really going at it, but just talking about it and getting to it. Okay, so that's the energy around the West. Alright, let's read the KKK around 1877. Let me see. I did leak in. I did that. All right. So that was what I was seeing around Reconstruction era. Let's just pull some cards on Reconstruction era in general from 1865 to 1777. And then we're going to jump on what happened after 1877. Head was itching, y'all. It took me a long, good bath, and now I'm chilling. All right. Spirit, give me the energy around Reconstruction era from 1865 to 1877 in general. Not just for black people, but just in general. All right. I feel like there was somebody who was trying to get out there and mysteriously try to lead and make things happen when it comes to rebuilding. But I'm going to be honest, this looks like somebody that's white. Okay, I'm going to just put it like that. I feel like it was getting, I don't think there were airplanes yet around that time, but I just feel like there was a view from it from above. Now, I don't know what it was from above, but there was a view. And somebody had plans on how to make this happen, okay? And when they had their plans to make it happen, they were only making plans for themselves. See? And so when they started doing Reconstruction, they told themselves, we have to do something to where we have to make it good for us and narrow for the black people. We have to make it narrow for them. So we don't want them to make no type of money. We do not want them to venture off and try to be like us. So let's make it hard for them. Let's try to make the pathways hard for them to follow. Let's try to stop them from getting out there and having their own. We're going to stop them from navigating and traveling through the stars. I don't know why the energy of the North Star is coming up. I don't really know what this has to do with Reconstruction era. I feel like, let me see. Why is navigating the stars coming up, and what does this have to do with Reconstruction era, Spirit? Why is the North Star coming up, and what does this have to do with Reconstruction era? 1, 2, 3. Honestly, I just see a lot of white people working on the land, watering the land. I also see soldiers being sent there. So I feel like when it comes to black people, soldiers were sent to stop white people from, I don't know, like bullying them or trying to block them or taking their life or whatever they were trying to do to stop them. I see the angels stop coming in and sending military soldiers trying to help as much as they can. And so I just see more so like them trying to build earth and land. They didn't really, okay, I just felt the energy. The energy is from white people. We did not want black people to reconstruct with us because they're going to work hard, grow their own crops, grow more food than us, get more stuff than us, because when they were our slaves, they worked hard as hell and we ate good. And if they were for themselves, they're going to eat better than us. That's what I see. So I just keep seeing the energy of holding back, trying to make the black people tread through a different way, a narrow way, because we don't want them to get the dream and an ambition like us. We don't want them to get it. We want to hold them back. Wow. That's the energy that I get from it when it comes to the white people and their energy. Give me some more energy when it comes to Reconstruction era in general from 1865 to 1777. I feel like people came from other countries to help them, and it was a great adventure for them. They had this energy like, this is going to take forever to build. And then I'm seeing the energy of the white people in the South being mad at the North because they have this energy like, okay, well, y'all came down here and destroyed it, and now y'all want to come and build it, but y'all robbing us while y'all building it. We really don't want y'all help. We're kind of stubborn. We could try to do it ourselves, and we don't care if it takes us years. We could do it ourselves. But then the military in the North was like, okay, you guys are stubborn, so they started sending soldiers down. And then I see a lot of these white people fighting the North. I heard this before, but I just heard it again. Scallywags and scallywobs or something like that. But they were fighting each other, the North and the South. And I'm talking about the white people. They were just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Back and forth, back and forth. Give me 2 more cards, and then I'll get on my next question. Oh, man. A lot of white slave owners and a lot of white plantation owners, they were upset. They were heartbroken and they were upset because it's like they watched their childhood home destroyed. They have a lot of white slave owners and plantation owners were reflecting. They started going back on being a child, being raised on their home, and how they're at this age now and everything they work hard for is destroyed and messed up, and it has to be built over, and it's pissing them off, and their dreams are destroyed, and they watching their own, everything that they build, which really the slaves build, but this is what they're thinking. Everything we build destroyed. Our families destroyed. Our homes destroyed. Our kids destroyed. our properties are destroyed. And so they had an attitude. They had an attitude. They were mad. They were arrogant. They were pissed. And they were even more pissed at the black men because they feel like all this for a black person, for black people? What? What? Yeah. Very deep. Very deep. All right, let's talk about 1877 to 1900, the KKK. Let's start off talking about them. Let's start off talking about the South, of course. Give me the energy of the KKK from 1877 towards 1900 towards the South, Spirit. The KKK from 1877 to 1900. What was their energy like towards black people? In the South. Wow. Okay. Wow. You know, I'm gonna stop right here real quick. The first thing I see is, okay, a lot of white people having to hide out. The KKK having to hide out at first. So maybe they didn't come out right away in 1877. Maybe they came out a little later, but I'm seeing them actually hiding out at first. And then I see them trying to create tower moments for black people, like destroying houses, HUDs, and fires and hanging and stuff like that. And some of them did succeed, which is why the tower is here in general. But it's here in reverses because a lot of them had a hard time trying to succeed like they wanted to. So if it was up to the KKK, it would have been a lot more black people, allegedly. I say allegedly for the channel, but we already know what it is. It would have been a lot more black people, lives taken, hung, all that. It would have been more. But they were delayed. They were delayed from doing more than what they wanted to do. See how the hangman keeps coming up now? It's in reverse. My cards don't lie. Sustain. They were delayed from hanging more black people than they wanted to. But these cards are still here, the tower and the hangman. So that means they did it. They got away with some of it. But if it was up to them, it would have been way more than what it was. Excuse me. Look. And the energy is showing that they still went around taking some people's lives. But a lot of white people, especially women, y'all had a lot of dark energy around y'all. Look at all these crows. Look at all these crows. Y'all had a lot of dark energy around y'all. There were a lot of black people, especially the women, that were in fear. So they always had a fear around them. A fear. A lot of white people, a lot of black people didn't leave. They didn't want to leave. The white people was like, I'm not leaving either. I'm delayed from wanting to hang black people and do all these things, and I'm destroyed. Some black people were killed, but I'm miserable. I'm unsatisfied, but I'm not leaving my home. This is my home. They can leave, and we're not leaving. A lot of people emotionally weak in strength. A lot of people broken, spiritually broken. That's what I just got when I got the strength in reverse. Spiritually broken. A lot of black people, spiritually broken. And a lot of these white people had a lot of enthusiastic energy and ready to attack and fight and attack. And it's all because they feel like their wealth got taken down. Their opportunities were taken. They finally didn't have anybody they could trap and hold on to no more. So the South, y'all had it pretty hard. Y'all were emotionally broken. Even though they didn't get to hang y'all, they started doing it other ways, like destroying y'all homes, destroying y'all businesses. I have actually a video I'm going to play back real quick where this lady is talking about all these situations that was happening in the around Reconstruction era. I'm reading from 1877 to 1900, but 1900, 1921, 1922, 1923. Before I play that though, let's talk about the West real quick. I'm gonna play it. She was talking about, basically Black Wall Street in Toluca, 1923 Rosewood Massacre. We seen that movie Rosewood. That's a true story. North Carolina, is that North Carolina? Where this guy, and it also talks about how black men were kind of messing it up for themselves at a bad time. You know, we in a different time and era. I mean, I don't care who this black dude is. Alexander Manley. You in 1923. That is not a time to write in the paper about black men, about white women being in love with black men. Like, come on now. So these black men been kind of doing this for a while, and I talked more about that in my slavery part 1. But let's talk about let me go back real quick. Let's talk about 1877 to 1900, the KKK in the North. We're not going to really talk about them in the West because my cards keep saying nothing was really in the West. The Four of Pentacles came out again when it comes to the KKK in the North. So I feel like if there were I feel like there wasn't really KKK members in the North, but if they were in the North, they were more about their money and property building. And I don't really see them in the North too much. The ones that were in the North, they just made it hard for black people to have opportunities. KKK wasn't really popular in the North, to be honest. But if they were in the North, they just stopped black people from making opportunities. And they were upset because they weren't in the South no more. And they had to be in the North to get out of all that drama and to not be homeless. So they spend most of their time heartbroken and sad and trying to get over it because they were homesick. That's the energy that I feel. Homesick, like I said. I really don't see KKK coming at black people, trying to fight black people, trying to merge at black people. I really don't see that in the North. I see the North is more so worried about financially picking up where the South was at. They were still on that energy. And the North has a better emotional connection with black people better than the South. But the North was kind of just going through an energy of trying to get their coins up and take whatever they can from the South. So I see the South trying to hold their money. Like, man. And so even though the North had won and they were getting money and they won the war, they were still having a hard time coming up with money and getting things that they needed from the South. And still having a hard time with food. So when it comes to the KKK towards the black people in the North, they really wasn't tripping, like, coming to the North. Because it's like I said again, and I see it again, they wanted all the black people to go to the North. So I'm actually seeing the energy of the KKK trying to chase black people out the South to go to the North. Like, I'm going to scare y'all to go to the North, or I'm going to take y'all life to go to the North. We're going to burn all your properties, your houses, all that down so you could leave. Go to the North with those northern people who came and messed with our land. Like, if y'all can't be our slaves, then y'all got to go. But Lincoln was trying to tell y'all, and I'm not saying what Lincoln was saying is okay, but what Lincoln was trying to do was stop slavery and send them all back to the Africa anyway. But the Southern people was like, no, we want our slaves. They belong here. They will die here. We're not sending them back to Africa. Everything we taught them, they're going to take that shit back to Africa? No, they're going to die here. Like, and so now they're feeling like, well, since the North wanted y'all free, y'all go down there and deal with them. Y'all got to deal with them. Like, something like that. Okay. And let's start talking about 1900 to 1923 with black men. We're going to get on women's rights in a little bit. Let's talk about it. First, I'm going to play what this girl said about the black rights and all that back then. Hopefully you guys can hear it.
In paper, a prominent Georgia writer named Rebecca Felton said,
"If it takes lynching a black man a day to protect white womanhood, I say lynch."
Her speech prompted a Wilmington black man named Alex Manley, owner of the Black-run Daily Record newspaper, to respond with a column. He made a simple observation that, at the time, was shocking.
That white women who had liaisons with black men did so voluntarily and enthusiastically.
This black man, Alexander Manley, owned a printing business, which was very important to the black community, because this is how they were informed of what was happening in their town. So when this white woman wrote about black men assaulting white women, Manley decided to write a column defending these black men. And even if it was true what he wrote, that was not the time, and he shouldn't have defended the derelict behavior of these black men. And white men were not going to receive that message well about their women.
Manley wrote, "Every Negro lynched is called a big burly black brute, when in fact many were sufficiently attractive for white girls to fall in love with them."
Manley pretty much said, in a nutshell, sometimes white women choose to be with black men.
And as for Alex Manley, we demand that he leave this city forever within 24 hours. The next morning, hundreds...
What I just say earlier, didn't I say a little earlier, it's like, all right, if y'all gonna free these black men to run around wild, then let them go up there in the north with y'all. But, you know, keep going.
of white men marched to the offices of the Daily Record. Manley was gone. He had fled to save his own life. They set the Daily Record building on fire. This is where it once stood. Meanwhile,
Now, that was in North Carolina. Now, you see what I'm talking about? They were taking lives of black men from 1921. From 1921, it was supposedly this guy and this girl. I don't want to get into names and details. They were in the elevator. The girl screamed. They didn't know what was going on. The dude went to court. They all came to the court trying to attack him. The white girl wouldn't testify. They went to the court to try to fight him. A couple of black men were there defending him, and then it turned into a riot. And then later on, they said, bunk that. They went to their town in Tuskegee and messed up all the businesses and all the the businesses, the stores, the business that all the black people businesses that they had on Black Wall Street, all because of that reason. And also with this guy, Alexander Manley, because of the statement that he made trying to defend black men, he lost. Not only did he lose his business, but he also cost a lot of other black people their jobs, and they destroyed the neighborhood because of his statement. And yes, I think it's true. Some white women are attracted to black men, and around that time too, it don't change. But like she just said, was this the right time to say it? Why would you put it in the paper? It's just, all right, keep going.
The mob had grown to about 2,000 men, and the violence spilled into the streets. In these photos, X's mark where the first black residents were killed. Many black residents hid for days in the swamps and the wooded cemeteries in the city. And thousands of other residents fled Wilmington, never to return.
This last story about Alex Manley was significant because he documented the fact that black men straight off the plantation knew the racial climate, knew that black towns were being burned to the ground, and black people were being hung and killed. But that was not enough to stop them from continuing the same behavior. And the black men who should have kicked these men out of the community chose instead to defend the behavior, just like Alex Manley did, and paid the ultimate price. White men are not jealous of these relationships. He's protecting the sanctity of his race, and their ideology has not changed. They feel that black people are second-class citizens and that they are superior to black people, even if it's a subconscious feeling. White men shun white women who date and marry black men. They take a stand in their position and they don't date them, especially if they have biracial children. The black community should do the same and black men who are loyal to the race should kick out the ones who have an incessant need to be with white women, because
now all that other stuff, but that's the point. I feel like that's how white men are. It's not about them being jealous because white women want black men. I feel like it's protecting their race. Okay, so let's talk about it. And let's pull the energy around 1900 I just got a vision to pull another card out first. From 1900 to 1923. I'm trying to figure out if I should let this be 2 hours or do a part 2. I think I'm going to let it be 2 hours. Because I don't want to do no more videos today after this. Angels, what was the energy around 1900 to 1923 as we had the example? We already seen the example of the 1921 Greenwood Tesla Black Wall Street situation when it came to that white man dealing with that black woman. And then we seen the movie Rosewood in 1923, but that was a situation with a black man and a woman assaulting. And believe me, these black men did this back in the days. They probably did assault some of these white women. Not all, but most of them did. And this is what led to massacres and to lynching and to them into these white Southern men wanting these black men to get out their town. So let's talk about 1900 to 1923. I got the 3 of Cups. So I do see things around the community getting a little better in the South. I do see it getting better. Reconstruction is here. There's a lot of prosperity. There is a lot of children being born. There's a lot of communities changing and coming close, and gratitude is coming in and coming through. Now, this could be talking about the black people, but I'm feeling the energy of white people, okay? Amazing opportunities is coming through. The 6 of Cups is here, so this talks about women being able to receive their rights. I'm also hearing the energy of Social Security being able to be open, and children's Social Security, children income and like welfare and better soup kitchens and stuff like that. Debts being paid off when it comes to the country. People helping other people who are less fortunate. Stuff like that. I promise. All right. Give me more energy when it comes to the South from 1900 to 1923. And then we'll talk about the North and then the West. Now, when it comes to the South, still pretty bad. Still pretty bad in the South. I do see a lot of people trying to build protective homes for their families. I see a lot of black people not getting no emotional support. I see a lot of black people not happy in the homes. I actually see a lot of black women, to be honest. I see a lot of black women being married to guys. This is from 1900 to 1923. I see a lot of black women married to husbands, being abused, being emotionally unfulfilled, not being happy, doing a lot of field and labor work, not getting the respect they need in return. I'm actually seeing drunken husbands being disrespectful and abusing their wives. I'm seeing a lot of heartbreak and sorrow. So I'm actually seeing some of the wives leaving their husbands and never coming home. And never coming back. Like escaping and leaving. Like, remember y'all watched that Tina Turner movie? Remember how she creeped out when he was asleep and got on the bus and bounced? I'm seeing that energy. Trying to escape death. I feel like their own husbands was abusing them, taking them out, choking them out. And not to mention, you got to worry about the white man and the Ku Klux Klan as soon as you get outside. So I energetically feel like a lot of black men were taking it out on their wives and children, what they went through, being abused, lynched, hung, disrespected, and being treated as a second-class citizen to white men. They took it out. They came home, took it out on their women and their children. And so I see a lot of women trying to block them off, trying to leave them, trying to protect their children. Some women were heartbroken and left their children. Some women didn't have the emotional strength and courage to fight. This totally went different in the 1900s. This is talking about how men were doing women. Besides that, in the South, when it comes to the 1900s, around that time, I'm just seeing a lot of battles, trying to defend themselves but can't. This is also black men being heartbroken and not, like, their soul being broken. I'm going to be honest. This is a lot of black men trying to defend themselves, and it's hard. Trying to protect their families and defend their families. It's hard. It got broken. It's pretty bad. All right, let me get some more energies. Give me the energy, spirit, please, around Reconstruction era. I mean, not Reconstruction era. Give me the energy around the world. I mean, the country, the black man during 1900 from 1923, spirit. 1900 from 1900 to 1923. Two of Cups. This talks about black men with their families. No emotional connection, no communication. Not being there for each other. Not helping each other opportunity-wise. Not being able to be there for each other. You know, instead of trying to do right, choosing to do the opposite. I also see that it was hard financially to get money, to work, to save money. It was hard. I'm seeing that energy. All right, let me get my Orisha deck. Give me the energy around black men in the South around 1900 to 1923. Leaving their wives, leaving their families, not talking, not opening up, not emotionally connecting. I thought it was kind of different back then. I thought black men were a little different towards their families back then, but it's kind of looking like y'all not. Y'all making babies and leaving them. That energy comes through with this Two of Cups and Ace of Wands. Making babies and leaving. Not manifesting positive opportunities. Not trying to work for what you want. I also see an energy of being blocked as well. I see energy of them being blocked. I see a lot of energy of them being deceived. So I do honestly see an energy of some black man trying to get out there and work and manifest things for himself and make things happen for himself. And then I do see him trying to heal and be different. And then I do see somebody coming and stealing something from them, betraying them, trusting. So black man, some of y'all were a little bit too trusting when it came to white people, white men. And y'all got ganked. Y'all got robbed. Whether it was an idea or a coin or your life. And I see y'all unable to walk away from it. Unable to walk away from trying to open up and make opportunities. I see a lot of black men wanting to leave the country, but that's hard. And so I just see them always in the energy of being hungry, being depressed, and not being driven, and emotionally broken, and always drinking, and not leaving home, and not being home, and just giving up. Giving up. Giving up. Simple as that. Giving up. Giving up. Trying, not trying hard enough. I see them trying spiritually, trying not to be this dark black man that drinks, abandons their family, make babies and leave them. I actually see that they tried, but they didn't try hard enough. They didn't keep their faith. I see them trying to give faith, but they didn't keep it. I see them trying to be spiritually intelligent. They couldn't. I don't see them trying hard enough to get the harvest. I see them giving up and drinking, taking a cigarette and walking off. Leaving the women hungry, sad, emotionally drained. I see the women trying to find spiritual courage, like burning candles and trying to have faith and trying to do spiritual work to bring abundance to them, to try to change things. And I see the women spiritually going within. So I actually see the women laying down, talking to God, burning the candles, having a conversation, but sad and hungry and distraught at the same time. Wandering path. Black man, 1900 to 2023. You guys, when something doesn't work, like for an example, if a man is with his family in North Carolina and something's not working as far as like the white man giving him a job, or him not bringing money in, or him not able to feed the family, or if him and the woman is arguing too much, he's already looking in another path to another state to move to for another family or to take care of himself. I see women leaving their man too. Abusive man, drunken man, beating they ass type of man. But the thing I'm going to say about the women, which it was kind of hard because there wasn't no courts and custody and all that shit. So I actually get it. Some of the women didn't take the kids. They just left the kids with the abusive man. It didn't come back. Wow. A lot of black people were still whipped with whips. They were still hung. Wow. All right. 1900 to 1923. Let me pull 2 more cards out, and then I'm going to talk about the North. I think I'm going to end this and do part 2, video 2 for part 3. Okay, you guys? After I answer this last question. Because in the part 2, I'll be able to answer the fans. I'll be able to answer y'all questions. All right, so this is the black man around the time. A lot of y'all tried to manifest, but you didn't try hard enough. A lot of women did the manifesting. They did the cleaning, the cooking, the taking care of the kids, the home. And to rob Peter to pay Paul. A lot of women did it. A lot of men gave up and just walked out and got dark. A lot of men self-sabotaged their situations and just made things worse. For an example, the video I just played y'all, a lot of men did this. They self-sabotaged things for themselves and when it came to their women and the situations around them. That's what I see. Let's talk about the West. Not the West, the North. We can actually talk about the West in this because the West was forming in 1900 and 1800s. It really wasn't doing anything. So we could talk about the West too. But let's definitely talk about the South really quick. Putting cards back take a little time. All right, let's talk about we talked about the South. Let's talk about the North from the 1900s to 1923. That's around the time women's rights started in 1921. I'm going to jump into that too after I talk about the West. But let's talk about the North a little bit. I pulled more cards for the South because the South is deep and that's when it really went down at, So let's talk about the North. There was a lot of opportunities that wasn't in the North too. It was hard for a lot of black people in the North to go forward with jobs, plans, ideas, opportunities. It was hard for the people in the North too. But the people in the North had more clarity of what they wanted to do with themselves. As far as like if they wanted to go back to school, as far as like if they wanted to move. I do see a lot of people in the North going to get their education. I actually see people in the North going to college too. Going to college, learning, getting their education, having better protection than in the South. Having better structured families in the South. In the North than the South. So, like the black men in the North, they were more like family oriented and more family structured. And they did figure out a way to get a little income versus the South. And I guess what I mean by that is they wasn't being drunk or living on the farm or so much abusing their women. Their women weren't happy though. Their women weren't happy. So I'm going to more so say like these black men, I hear white men too, but black men were cheating and having mistresses and not satisfying their wives or their women. Black too, black and white, but mostly black. Fulfilling them as far as like being a woman, being at home, taking care of home. I'm seeing that energy, but I don't see the wives in the North leaving their men. but the relationships, the passions, the communication wasn't the best in the North either. It's just that the black man in the North wasn't so quick to abandon their families. They wasn't so much drinking, and they didn't leave their families, and they were there for their kids. It just looks like they were cheaters. But as far as like the economic status and the jobs, it was still a little hard, okay? It was still a little hard. But I actually see black men in the North going to school and trying to educate themselves and stuff like that. Going to the military and trying to be better than what they're doing. They just wasn't good at being in relationships with women and stuff like that. And I feel like this may have to do with slavery, with them having to be taken or sold away from their wives and stuff. They just didn't know how to adapt to learning how to stay in the home with their wives, or being connected to just being with their wives or just one woman. I think that has to do with slavery somewhat. Let me see what else I get when it comes to the North. Give me some energy around the black man in the North from 1900 to 1923. Not emotionally available like they should be, but not leaving. Not spiritually mature enough in their marriages and in their relationships and with their families, but they're there. More happy families, though. Yeah, it comes out again. Having a hard time going forward and delays when it comes to getting out there, getting money, getting opportunities. Taking care of the home, taking care of the family. Overwhelmed trying to look for work, okay? I see the women in the 1900s gaining wisdom, getting knowledge, putting out their intuition out there, going off of their intuition, educating themselves too as well, making opportunities happen. I think, okay, I'm starting to get into the women's movement now, all right? Manifesting opportunities for themselves. This is the black women in the North. It jumped on the women. Manifesting opportunities and programs for them to keep going in the North. All right, give me the energy around the black man in the North from 1900 to 1923. And then we'll talk about the West, and then women's rights. And then I'm going to end the video and do part 2 video. A lot of black men in the North, they were not making their women happy. They weren't happy. They weren't satisfied. They didn't have the passion or the courage or the strength to fight, to try to work hard, to try to make something happen anyway. And I'm trying to be understanding because I know that it was a different time, and I knew around 1900 to 1923, white men were giving black men a hard time. They weren't trying to give them a job. They were destroying things. So yes, I am trying to be about it. But black men, y'all still wasn't treating y'all families the best. Y'all still weren't trying to adapt to what was going on around y'all and trying to make it better. Y'all were still not pleasing your women and not satisfying your women and not having enough emotional courage and enough emotional strength and the fight in you that God gave you, because God made you a man, so he knows what he's doing. He gave you enough strength and enough courage and confidence to be able to handle your wives, your children. And I say wives because some of y'all want to be out there having wives, and so if you want to have more than one wife, be bold. This just shows me a lot of black men not having the courage or the confidence to make something happen in this world and to be the man that he needs to be, as far as like the provider, taking care of the home, doing what he got to do, and trying to make something happen. No courage, no confidence. No faith, not believing in themselves, not believing in they have the fight in them to make this happen. Sort of like giving up. Giving up. I see arrogancy as well when it comes to the black man, when it comes to them feeling like, well, they're not trying to help me. They're not trying to give me no jobs. What am I supposed to do? You know what I mean? Stuff like that energy comes through strong, man. I ain't gonna lie. It comes through strong. That's the North, but as usual, the North is never as bad as the South. So I feel like black men in the North should have tried a little harder because y'all didn't have it as hard as the South. As far as like jobs, yeah, I will say that. But pride was involved. For an example, if you needed money to feed your family for the night, most black men was like, I'm not about to go shine nobody's shoes. I'm not about to go wipe his car. I'm not about to go wash his clothes. Like, women would do it. They'll go wash the clothes. They'll go feed the kids. They would put up with certain things. They would let people talk to them. Black men wouldn't try to do it. They didn't want to hear that. They had a temper. They go off. Bam. All right. Let's talk about the West from 1900 to 2000. From 1900 to 1923. What was going on in the West, Spirit? What was going on in the West from 1900 to 1923? It's coming out again. The North is still coming out like they're still trying to build and make something happen. So the West was still kind of doing financially bad. It was no money there. There were no families. There were no homes. It was hard to turn it into something to build still. Okay. I do still see people going out there and trying to get money and treasures and stuff like that. But I don't really see too much else going on in the West. I see that people went and came back. People went and came back. They went, they got the money, they got the spoils, and they came back. I want to know why is the devil card here when it comes to the West. The West, the reason why I'm seeing the devil card here when it comes to the West is because going to the West was like going into a dark place because it wasn't like all the way formed yet. So it was like going to the dark, and I guess they would say make a deal with the devil or hitting some type of crossroad or ended up like the Dahmer family or something. How they got stuck going off West and they end up eating each other. The West was like a trap. It was like a trap. So a lot of people got over it. But then later on, I see like 3 years after 1923. 3 years after 1923, the West changed. People started forming ideas, getting together, working, going out there, and trying to make something happen. Yeah. Yeah. Give me more energy when it comes to the West from 1900 to 1923. Give me more energy when it comes to the West from 1900 to 1923. Yes, spirits. Yeah, nobody wanted to go down there and work and build the land yet. Build families, build farms. But then, okay. So what I'm hearing is somebody who was educated. It could have been a president. I heard maybe a president. Somebody who was very educated wants to start going down there and farming California aquaculturally, if I'm saying that right, aquaculture-wise. Going down there and building California. Having the courage and the confidence to make something happen in California. So I see education and intelligence had changed this. And then they started doing aquaculture there. I see an energy of them getting somebody else to do the hard labor work for them. So robbing somebody else of the hard labor work to get California going and not really paying them anything. That energy comes through strong. A lot of these people that they had, for an example, it could have been they may have somebody come from Europe somewhere and build America and help get America started. And this wasn't good for them, the people, whoever came, but it was good for America. And it took a long time for them to reconstruct it and build it, but it got done. And a lot of people had lost their lives, and a lot of people had suffered from depression building it and lost their tempers, but they got what they wanted. They got what they wanted. That's the West. Wow. All right. Let's talk about women's rights, and then I'm going to do part 2 video. Okay. Let's talk about the women's rights that started in 1921 through 1923. what did the women do in order for them to make their rights start happening? That's when Pamela Cole, the creator of the original tarot deck, came out. They tried to give her a hard time because, it wasn't good for women to be mystical and, spiritual back then. But they gave her a hard time. But when, what's his name? Because he's on the tarot deck too. I don't know why his name is not coming to my head. But when he did it, it was okay. But when she did, he even took some of her words and tried to change it around. But no, Spirit said no. So if you get an original tarot deck and you see Pamela Cole and his name, they put her name first because he tried to steal her ideas and switch it around and say women couldn't think like that, only men could. And they hurry up and switch that shit. The modern people of today, they switched it because she was the one that came up with all these ideas for the tarot. And she was very spiritual. She worked with the occult, and she learned biblical studies, and she went to college. So it's deeper than all that, okay? But this was a hard fight for women. They actually lost the fight a couple of times. I'm actually seeing the angels coming through and putting their sword down and making this happen for women, because if it wasn't for the angels or the power of protection, which is the angels, I don't think this would have happened, because women were fighting. They were losing the fight. No, like, they didn't have no love for women to give them these opportunities. They wasn't mature enough to give women these opportunities. And I'm seeing the energy of emotional immaturity and wanting to fight this. No, it's better if women do what we say. We don't want to hear the mouth, the toughness, and all that. So I actually see women losing a couple of times and trying to fight this, but they came out the trap. I feel like women had to lie. They had to lie about something to get the fair. You see the justice at the end of this? Women had to lie about something in order to get those women's rights. Now, Spirit, what they lie about? So then women's rights wouldn't have came without some type of lie, some type of scandal. Some type of lie, some type of scandal. This card fell. I'm gonna put it back though, because I don't know if it fell out or in reverse or upright. What did they sneak? What was they being sneaky or lying about to get these rights? Which, look, hey, I ain't mad. They had to steal something. First they were being sneaky and lying, and they stole something, which is all the same. Children. Oh, I feel like a woman, a really attractive woman, not played a guy, but seduced. And I don't mean sexually seduced. I mean mentally seduced a man into making these rules change and manipulated him. And it has something to do with a child and gifts. A child. Oh, okay. There was a man who was in power, who was in love with a woman. This woman became a false person, meaning she really didn't love him like he loved her. And so she manipulated him and seduced him and gave him something he wanted, whether that was a child or some type of gift. It doesn't have to be like a material gift, but something that he's never had before, to get these rights to be pushed. And it happens. When it happened, a lot of men were in despair, and the change happened. Wow. Look, Southern wealth and mature woman. Wow. So it was a woman who did that for us, and she did it in her charming, seductive, he thought she was fine though, and he was in love type of way. Wow. Okay, so look, y'all, that video was pretty long. I'm going to end it here. I'm going to do a part 2 video right now. I'm going to talk about 1924 to 1954, the civil rights, the NAACP. I'm going to talk about from 1955 to 1885, from the Reagan era, the NAACP, Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, Malcolm X, Black Panther era, and then I'm going to be answering the questions that my subscribers have left for me to answer. And then that video should be like an hour, you guys. And I'm ending the video here, you guys. I'm going to see you in the next read, which is right away. And have a good day.